everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to Prairie Sports Talk, the podcast where we talk about sports that directly impact the Canadian Prairie. Today is Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And what better way to spend Valentine's Day than talking about something that billions of people across the world love, sports. Today's topics are, we are going to open up talking about the Swift-Current Broncos and how they have started this very important stretch that I talked about in the last episode. And then we are going to talk about CFL free agency and recap my CFL free agency special video that I uploaded yesterday. We have a few things to talk about today. Let's get into it. So, the Swift-Current Broncos are a few games into a very important stretch in the season. The first game we've already talked about. It was a loss against Brandon in overtime 5-4. Then the next game that actually happened the night before last episode went live, but it was also the night that I recorded the episodes. They ended up beating Red Deer 4-3, which is huge. Red Deer and Swift-Current are in the same division. It is massive whenever you can beat a divisional rival like this. So getting 2 points up on them because they won in regulation as opposed to winning in overtime, that's massive, and that could end up being very important for the playoffs. And then they ended up going up against Edmonton, one of the worst teams in the WHL. So this is where I got a little confused with the Broncos. So on back-to-back nights, the Broncos played the Edmonton Oil Kings, one of the worst teams in the league. And then the next night, they played the Saskatoon Blades, one of the best teams in the league. So what night do you think their starting goalie started? Reed Dick, the starting goalie, started against Edmonton. Okay. You know what? That makes sense. He can start back-to-back games. Wait, what do you mean Joey Rocha started against Saskatoon? Now, this isn't a knock against Rocha. I think he has a very bright future with the Broncos. I think he is going to be a tremendous starter next season, but that is next season. The Broncos right now are in a slugfest with a lot of really heavy hitters right now in the WHL. So when you put in the backup against one of the top teams in the league, it should not surprise you when you lose 3-2. Now the Broncos, in my opinion, they played good enough to win. They struggled a little in the first, but in the second and third, they really got it together. But unfortunately, Saskatoon is Saskatoon. They are a very skilled team, and they are one of the top teams in the league for a reason. Saskatoon got a late goal, which pushed them over the top, and Saskatoon ended up winning 3-2 in regulation. But Swift-Current still has a few more games left in what I consider to be this very important stretch. So tonight they take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes, another divisional rival. I love it when these teams play. This is always a very scrappy game. And that's not just because the Broncos are a scrappy team. They are, but that's not why these games are scrappy. Over the last few years, this has blossomed into a very fun rivalry to watch and a very intense rivalry. The Broncos and Hurricanes always seem to get into some form of a fight before the end of every game they play against each other, and there always seems to be a controversy that leaves one or both teams somewhat upset with the refs or the other team, or sometimes both. It is very entertaining hockey. I don't know how you can go to a game between two rivals like this and not leave feeling romantic about hockey, even if the team you're cheering for loses. Now, with that said, the next game is in Regina against the Broncos' biggest rival, the Regina Pats. The Broncos have very much had the Pats' number this season. There is no reason the Broncos should lose this game. I don't care if Rocha starts, I don't care if Dick starts, I don't care who starts in net. There is no reason for the Swift-Current Broncos to lose this game. And then afterwards, they return home for another for another 3 home games to end off this very important stretch. Regina comes to town to wrap up a home-and-home series. Now, again, I don't care which goalie starts. There is no excuse for the Broncos to lose this game either. We are a very skilled team, and the Pats are very, I don't want to say bad, but they're definitely below average. In my opinion, last season, if they had gone and traded Connor Bedard for a bunch of assets and draft picks, they'd be a lot better set up for this season, next season, and so on down the line. But they kept Bedard, and I think Pats fans are going to pay the price for the Pats not trading him, and that's very unfortunate because the Pats are have a very fun fan base to go up against and cheer against. I really enjoy this Swift-Current Broncos and Regina Pats rivalry. This is, in my opinion, my favorite rivalry in the league. Now, I'm probably biased because I'm a Broncos fan, and I work for the Broncos, and I cover the Broncos, and yeah, I'm definitely biased. But I adore this rivalry, and it is going to be a fun 2 games. But then afterwards, we got another provincial rival coming to town. Because of course we do. This is a rivalry road apparently. Because Moose Jaw comes to town in the next game. That should be a very tight game. I think at home the Broncos should be able to squeeze out a win. But it's definitely going to be probably the second toughest or even the toughest game on this very important stretch, with the only game that really gives it a run for its money being the game we had against Saskatoon. I think this is going to be a very interesting game to watch. The Warriors have really dominated the Broncos this season, but I know the Broncos have seemed a lot hungrier these last couple games, so an upset wouldn't shock me, but I still think the Warriors would likely win this. I think the Broncos' best bet is at least trying to push it to overtime for that extra point. And then they wrap up this insane homestand with the first half of a home-and-home series against Medicine Hat in one of 8 meetings between these teams. I know I mentioned this last episode, but 8 is a lot. It gets kind of tiring for people after 8 games in a season, after 8 games between the same 2 teams in a season with less than 75 regular season games. Broncos should win this, though they have a significantly better team than Medicine Hat. I think they should win both the home game and the road game, but this is why we play sports. We don't play sports because we know the outcome. We play them because we don't know the outcome. Upsets exist. Sports is not played on paper. A team may be destined to win on paper, but sometimes when you put those teams against each other, sometimes the team that should win loses. And that's always an exciting aspect of sports when it happens. So, CFL free agency opened up yesterday. I love it. I love it. CFL free agency. Anytime I have a chance to talk about the CFL, I would take it. I love the CFL. I love everything about it. But with that said, I'm going to try and keep this segment relatively short because I went very in-depth with a CFL free agency special yesterday, which is linked in the description down below on YouTube. So if you guys want to hear my thoughts on free agency, go ahead and watch that once this episode is over. But I'm just going to recap a little bit of what I said. So I think the big winners are Saskatchewan and Hamilton above all else. Both teams added some key pieces, got stronger in areas where they were somewhat weak last season. Namely, the Rough Riders added AJ Ouellette. That is huge. That is a league-shaking deal. And just in case people were still worried about the offensive line, and for good reason after the last couple seasons we've had, the Riders also went out and got Jamarcus Haldrick. Now, they went out and got a few other players, but those are the 2 most notable players in my opinion. I love these moves. I really do. The Riders are bringing in a very experienced and very skilled offensive lineman in Haldrick who can come in, hold his own, and help mentor the younger players like Logan Furland. And AJ Ouellette, well, he's coming off a season with over 2,000 rushing yards. As for Hamilton, I feel like their moves weren't overly notable, but I don't feel like they had to be. Hamilton just kind of needed to strengthen various different positions, and I feel like they did that. It's kind of hard to explain it, but on paper, I feel like they are a lot better of a team. As for the big losers, if your team wears blue, I suggest skipping this part, because I feel like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Toronto Argonauts are the two biggest losers. I feel like neither team did enough to replace what they have lost already. Now, granted, free agency has just opened, but it's not looking good if those teams don't do much more. Now, I think the Bombers bringing back Oliveira, Schoen, and Wolitowski, very good moves. It's good for the future of the team, but the immediate future of the team, it's a team that is aging, and it is a team that is going to fall off either this season or next season, and it's going to be a rough rebuild no matter what young players you have, unless you have someone to replace every single player that has fallen off, retired, or moved on. You're not going to be able to replicate this tremendous run the Bombers have been on the last couple seasons. As for the Argos, Toronto, there are two good running backs left. You have to try and get one of them. There's Kadeem Carey and there's Jamal Morrow. Carey is likely the better of the two in most people's opinion, but you need to find someone to replace Ouellette. You need to actually sign players. That's what free agency is for. You don't just sit there on your phone, just kind of like, oh, the Rough Riders signed a running back. When did that happen? No, you actually have to do something. It is so weird to watch a team that did so good last season just kind of sit there and twiddle their thumbs through the legal tampering period. Look, if you want more in-depth analysis on my opinions, the free agency special is linked down below. But I feel like I summed up my opinions pretty well there. But that is everything I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, be sure to check out the 13th Man Podcast Network and give it a follow. If you want to check me out on Twitter, my handle is JACKYKNOBS. That is Jackie Knobs. I hope you guys all have a great day, a great week. Stay safe, stay strong. You got this. And this is Jackie for Prairie Sports Talk signing off.